Hello and welcome to Unwind Sessions, where right after my shift I give the highlights of my workday and hope to do so soon live with a Q&A right after. My name is Juan. I am an English Spanish medical video remote interpreter with over 4 years of experience. Today is Tuesday, April 6th, 2021, and I took around 38 calls today. It was a pretty busy day. It was a mix between video and just regular phone calls. I believe today it was more video calls, so it was a little hard, because of the posture and all of that. One thing that I have to say about today is that the weather is actually getting warmer now in my hometown. So my pants have come off, and I am now working with gym shorts and flip flops. So that's very nice. Something nice about today, which is a little warm. And of course, I'm not gonna work until next Tuesday. So that means you guys are going to have a whole week to ask a question if you want to, of course. So, yeah, uh, unless you've ever worked in gym shorts and flip flops and a tie and a dress shirt at home, you will never know how good this actually feels. But, anyways, moving on to two things that I am actually going to talk about today. One thing is that I did not understand what a patient had said. The patient said the statement the first time, and I didn't understand like that. What she said didn't really make sense, so the whole thing didn't make sense. So I asked the provider. I said, "Excuse me, this is the interpreter speaking. I was not able to understand the patient. I asked her to repeat." And the provider said, "Yeah, go right ahead." And when I asked the patient the question, she said the very same thing, but this time she said it a different way. And I still didn't understand just that little thing that she was saying. So I asked the provider if I could clarify with the patient because there was a part I did not understand. And I did, but the patient did not know what she was talking about. She said that that's what the provider said, and she didn't know what it meant either. So what she said it was um, that she was a pregnant lady, and her baby was in breech position, and they she said that they checked the baby and that the baby, she said, bajó tres. Revisaron al bebé y el bebé bajó tres. And that's what I didn't understand. And I asked the lady if she could tell me what bajó tres means because this literally means they checked the baby and the baby was lowered three, or the baby was lowered to a three, or something like that. And I asked the patient if she could please explain to me what that meant, and she said that she didn't know. So before I interpreted that, I told the provider, I said, uh, "This is the interpreter speaking, and I am sorry. There is just something that the patient is saying that I did not understand, and I asked her what it meant, and she said that she did not understand what that meant either, but that is what the providers told her. And I went ahead and I told the provider, I said, "I'm gonna give you what I understood, and then I'm gonna let you know, or while I'm interpreting, the part that I didn't understand." And I let the provider know everything, and then I said, "This is the part that I'm not clear on." She said that the baby was down to a three, and I just gave the whole rendition like normal. And the provider, I don't know if he understood or anything, but he didn't ask any more questions about it. He moved on. So that most of the time, patients do explain themselves. I don't think this is. I think this is the first time that I've had a patient that didn't understand what she meant, but of course, it's something that the doctor said, so I mean, I understand, it's expected. So, moving on. Another thing that happens a lot more than I would like is like when you give like the textbook or the training method of asking for repetition. If you don't understand something, you're supposed to ask permission. You're supposed to ask the provider for permission to actually get a repetition from the patient. If you don't understand what the patient is saying, you have to ask the provider or the client. You have to say, "Excuse me, this is the interpreter speaking. I did not understand the patient. May I ask for a repetition?" And a lot of, well, sometimes they will be like, "Yeah, go ahead and ask for a repetition." Some guys are, well, some providers are even nice enough and they'll be like, "Yeah, sure, you don't have to ask me whenever you need a repetition, just go ahead and do it." And that's pretty nice. But what really happens a lot, and it really gets on my nerves, is that I'm gonna tell you what happened today. Today the provider asked a question. I don't remember what question it was. I think it was, do you have any questions? Do you have any more questions? And the patient said something, but I couldn't hear her. So I asked, like I understood part of it. She said something collagen, and that's what I understood. And I told the provider, I said, "I'm sorry, this is the interpreter. I did not understand the patient. I asked for a repetition." And the provider answered, "So you did not understand who, me or the patient?" And I said, "The patient." And the provider said, "So do you want me to repeat or the patient?" And I said, "The patient." And the provider said, "Sure." And asked, "So do you have any more questions?" And I said, "Okay, fine." And I asked the lady, "Do you have any more questions?" And this time the lady said, "No." And I didn't feel good about that because I knew she had asked the question. So I went back to the provider and I told her, I said, "Ma'am, this is the interpreter speaking right now. The lady said she doesn't have any questions right now, but when you asked the question the first time, I could not hear her, and she asked the question, but I couldn't hear her, and I was asking you if I could get your permission so that the lady could repeat what she said so that I could interpret the question for you." And then the provider said, "Oh, okay, yeah, I understand. So go ahead and tell her." And I did, and the lady asked if she could, she was pregnant as well, and she asked if she could take biotin and collagen during pregnancy. And the lady said, "Sure, let me write that question down for the doctor." And that was that. And I mean, I don't know why that happens. I don't know where the confusion is. I don't know if I say it wrong. If I'm sorry, this is the interpreter. I could not hear the patient. May I ask the patient for a repetition? I don't know if there's any other way to make it even more clearer or anything. Um, so just for you guys, I went ahead and asked my coworkers how they actually handled the situation, and one of them actually answered and said, "Well, I don't ask the provider if I can give a repetition. I just say mande or excuse me or pardon me or come again or just something of that nature." And they usually just repeat it without a problem. And when I go to interpret, I tell the provider, "This is the interpreter speaking. I was just asking the lady if she could repeat what she said because I couldn't hear her, and this is what she said." And honestly, I do that. I do that sometimes. I sometimes I don't do it because I remember like the the textbook method. What I learned in training was to actually ask the provider for permission. And during the medical setting, they also told us that it's okay to ask a question or to repeat directly to the patient, but you have to inform the provider right after. So I do that already, but I don't do it all the time. And now that I've actually asked my coworkers, and my coworker answered that, I find it a very useful strategy, and I will do so in the future. I'm going to refrain from asking the provider permission because I don't like the fact that they don't understand that I'm asking for the patient to repeat, not for them to repeat. So I think I'm going to stop doing that, and I'm just going to ask the patient to repeat, and then I'm going to inform the provider that I asked the patient for a repetition. So that is pretty much it. That is pretty much it that I have for today. I hope you were able to gather some insight into what happened today, which was not understanding what the patient said and the patient not knowing what it meant either. And also for the other problem that sometimes happens when the provider doesn't know who you're asking for a repetition. So yeah, like I said, that's pretty much it today. Please leave your questions on the comments, and I will answer a couple of them on the next session. Remember that I won't be here until next Tuesday. I'm gonna take some days off so that I can actually work on Interpret Your World. And that will be it. Remember that I'll be here every Monday through Friday from 6 p.m. to around 6:20 p.m. Mountain Time once I am live. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you like the video and have not done so for more content. And don't forget to share. Happy interpreting. Goodbye.